Howdy y'all, Andy here, and welcome to another episode of King's Comics. Today we're going to take a step back and look at this has kind of become a running joke with my friends and people on this channel, but I love SteelBook Blu-ray cases, so I've kind of amassed a collection of them, and today we're just going to go ahead and go through my SteelBook Blu-ray collection. I've got a lot for just movies as well as some video games, so enough said about that, let's get started. First on my list, I tried to sort them alphabetically, is Marvel's The Avengers, the first Avengers. I think a friend of mine sold this to me just because he found it, and a lot of the Avengers Blu-rays, MCU in general, are kind of expensive, or at least the original copies and releases of them. So that's why I've got the original Avengers Blu-ray, as well as the Avengers Age of Ultron one, and then of course Avengers Endgame. I don't have Infinity War because that one is, not so much hard to find, but much hard to find at a decent price. So I've held off on that one until later notice, or a bigger paycheck. Next up, I have Batman Begins. I've actually got all three of the Nolan Batman films on Blu-ray, which was pretty lucky, but I didn't keep them together as a trilogy set because I separated them based on alphabetical order for this video, as well as just how I store things, which drives me a little crazy, to be honest. I just wish they all were called Batman or The Dark Knight, because then they'd be together, but whatever. Next up is The Big Lebowski. Yeah, I actually hadn't seen this film until I think about last year. It's Coen Brothers, so it's this interesting kind of dry comedy. It's dry but still ridiculous comedy. I really ended up enjoying it, but it'd been told to me for a while to be a pretty good comedy movie, so it was nice getting to actually see it, and of course to find it on sale at Best Buy. Then this is kind of a goofy one, but we've got The Big O. This is one of my favorite anime from when I was growing up. It's this mecha anime, giant robots, and it was inspired by Batman the Animated Series. So it's kind of westernized, which is interesting. The main character's name is Roger Smith. But I watched the first 13 episodes. It's a 26 episode series. I watched the first 13 episodes, that's the first season, on Crunchyroll or VRV, some online anime website, and then I just couldn't find the other 13. Then I found out that it was on sale in Blu-ray form, so I just went ahead and copped all of them on Blu-ray, and it's like a limited edition or collector's edition, so it comes with this little art book in this nice little sleeve, so it's pretty nice, and has a design of the Big O robot on the front and back. I really recommend it to fans of Batman the Animated Series, just good kind of noir, even detective style plot. It's a good one of my favorite anime of all time. I also happen to have, 2 out of 3 of the Captain America movies on Blu-ray. I've got Captain America the Winter Soldier, or Blu-ray Steelbook, The Winter Soldier, and Civil War. The first one, I think they re-released the original Captain America on 4K Blu-ray, but I'm trying to get the original Blu-ray Steelbooks, so that's kind of a uphill battle. Once again, a lot of those original release Marvel Blu-ray Steelbooks are pretty expensive right now, so more on that as it develops. Oh, hey, there they are. And the last 2 Batman movies in the Nolan series. So you've got The Dark Knight and then The Dark Knight Rises. Both are incredible movies. The Dark Knight is one of my favorite comic book as well as superhero movies of all time. And The Dark Knight Rises is still a great movie, especially as an end of the trilogy, but fell flat in a couple ways, I would say, because it was a little bit more comic booky, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it seemed like it was a bit of a letdown with respect to everything that had been built up in The Dark Knight. But it's funny because, I think I was in college, I went to go see The Dark Knight Rises. Sean Chandler took me and one of my best friends out for his birthday, and so we went to go see it at IMAX, and I dressed up as Bane. My head was shaved. I dressed up as Bane, had the mask and everything, and then I stayed up all night working on this mask, so I was in the paramilitary Bane gear, was in the theater, and then as soon as the climax hits, when all the Gotham citizens are about to face down against Bane's forces, as soon as the climax hit, I just had to go to the bathroom, so I ran out basically at the climax of this movie, of this battle, and I have never gotten to live it down. whether that's friends or family or anyone who is relatively close to me. I keep getting reminded of it. But I mean, I went back and rewatched it. The movie was still great. It just thinks that I had done all this effort to like dress up, hadn't gotten an hour of sleep, and then ended up paying for it. Moving on, Deadpool. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is the original Deadpool Blu-ray Steelbook. I ended up getting it at, I think, a half-price Books, which that's another place I've mentioned I go to shop for a lot of my comics and media. You can even find like pop punk vinyls and even just like good action figures or video games there for a decent price, especially when they go on sale. So I think I managed to cop this for like maybe $10, and it might have been like 6 or like 8 because they had a special going on. But I don't have the second one. Deadpool was still a nice little surprise of a probably actually one of the best X-Men movies. So I mean, seriously, great movie, funny, but I still think Deadpool 2 is better just because it fleshed out the characters a little bit more, whereas the original Deadpool was a nice little introduction to the character. And then Django Unchained. Great. I love Quentin Tarantino movies in general, but I think Django Unchained might be. Oh man, that's hard. I almost want to say it's my favorite Tarantino movie, just because it's so ludicrous. I mean, a lot of Tarantino movies will have kind of dry parts, you know, like a little bit slower paced stuff, especially things like The Hateful Eight and even Pulp Fiction has some like slow moments. But I feel like Django just like kept rolling in terms of action, and also had it didn't have like a lot of slow moments, and when it did, they were just very tense, or you were just waiting for things to hit the fan. So yeah, definitely, legitimately one of my favorite movies of all time, and especially as a Tarantino film. Moving on is another great movie, Drive. I'm surprised I managed to find this one on Blu-ray. I think I probably got it on eBay or Best Buy for a decent deal, but this was interesting because I think this is embarrassingly enough, this is a movie that got me into wearing like Henley shirts with the buttons like Ryan Gosling, and there was an embarrassing bit of time in college where I was thinking about getting some of those driving gloves. I mean, I drove a 2006 Nissan Sentra, so I mean it would have looked cool in my head, but not so much in person. But yeah, Drive is one of those great movies I recommend everybody watches. It has a cool just vibe and scenery, and Ryan Gosling just kills it as his character. It's also based on a book, which it's a short read. I recommend it. It's like 100 pages. It's called Drive by James Salas. I enjoyed the book too, but you know, also don't get the cool synth soundtrack that you get with the movie. Then Dunkirk. I try to get as many like Christopher Nolan movies on Steelbook as I can. So when Tenet drops, I'm gonna see if I can just pre-order that, even though I don't like paying full price. It's just getting some of those movies limited edition or like on release has been getting harder. I know. But Dunkirk, I actually don't really watch a lot of historical or war movies. It's just not like one of my preferred genres, but because it was Christopher Nolan, I thought I'd check it out. And the thing I actually regret about this movie is not seeing it in theaters or IMAX. I waited till it was on Blu-ray and then I watched it, and I mean, it was just incredible. The scenery, like the characters, just like getting to understand. It felt like I was watching a much more psychological movie than just a war movie, and that's what made it so awesome. And I think my friend, my roommate Sterling, he saw it in theaters. I think he saw it in IMAX maybe, and said that the sound was just amazing, and man, it was a much better movie than I was expecting. I mean, it's a Nolan movie, so it's not like you could go wrong, but still. All right, Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'm of course mixing Guardians of the Galaxy 1, but that's also going to be a hard one to find or find at a decent price. So I'm still hunting for that. There's clearly a lot of the MCU movies I'm missing on Steelbook, and it's just all about like timing, finding them for a good price, and I really, really don't like paying full price for anything, like I mentioned, because, you know, that just limits your ability to, well, I guess one, keep the lights on and feed yourself, but more importantly, you know, to buy cool stuff. And then I grabbed the Hulk. Yeah, I grabbed the Hulk on Blu-ray, and this is the Eric Bana Hulk. So not the Incredible Hulk with not the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton, the one that's part of the MCU. This is the classic, just kind of a little cringy at parts, but just the Ang Lee Hulk where there's just a lot of bad CGI. I mean, I think I was watching a YouTube video breaking down some of the special effects, and I think at one point, like, a tank that the Hulk throws something at just disappears. Like, there's just so much wrong with this movie that also makes it great, but I mean, I honestly think it's a letdown, but at the same time, it's why we have the MCU. It led into us getting, like, a new Hulk movie, so, you know, gotta pay homage. I mean, that, and I got it mixed up with the Hulk Blu-ray Steelbook that I actually wanted. Alright, Nolan double feature. So, we've got Inception as well as Interstellar. And, I mean, I'm gonna be honest, if I catch flack, I catch flack. I think I really, really, really like Inception. I think it's a little overrated. I mean, once again, great movie, great soundtrack, great actor. I mean, it's a Nolan movie. It's awesome, but I don't know, I just feel like I feel like it's overrated, but maybe it's just because I got ticked off listening to people like argue back and forth whether the top was, you know, still spinning at the end, whether it was a dream or whether it was reality. I think that might have soured it for me in a weird way. Still a great movie, but it's not as good as Interstellar. This movie freaking rocks. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir, I'm sure. You know, I haven't necessarily heard people say too much bad about Interstellar, but I mean, I love it. If I get on a tangent about it, I won't shut up about it. I mean, like now. But, I mean, I'll be honest. I was on a date in college, and then we went to go see Interstellar. Like, it was just like, I guess, whatever was playing in the theater at the time, and I admittedly forgot I was on a date. It's not my best moment. We're just going to say that and leave it there. But the sound, I mean, just the sound design, just the vastness of space, just all the set design, everything is freaking awesome about this movie. Right, we're shooting a video, right? Not an Interstellar review. All right. Next up is the smallest steelbook in my collection. Technically, well, not even technically, not actually a Blu-ray steelbook. It's just the John Wick 3 mini steelbook. It came with like a digital code inside. My friend Peter, aka DJ Peta B, gave it to me just because I think he just wanted the digital code as well, or he just like got it when he bought a collector's edition. So another steelbook in the collection, and I actually haven't seen the third John Wick. I mean, I like the series. It was like really nice surprise of an action movie, but I just haven't followed up and checked it out. Now we've got like probably one of my favorite DC animated movies is Justice League: The New Frontier. The artist whose like work inspired this, I mean, who wrote the comic that this is based off of, Darwin Cook. He, actually you'll see more of his art on the back. He's got this just very classic style of drawing, and just, I know it really lends itself to the idea of like that this movie's trying to encapsulate, and that this that the original comic had tried to capture, which is this very vintage classic retelling of these heroes and how they came together to form the Justice League. It was really nice. It was like putting a fresh coat of paint on a story we've heard a million times, I'm sure, but it was also beautiful to see it like adapted into animation. Alright, Kingsman: The Secret Service, also based on a comic, and then we have a second one, and now we have a third one coming out. But yeah, this is based on a Mark Millar comic, actually, which that's the same guy who helped found the Marvel Ultimate Universe, as well as wrote Kick-Ass, the comic that the movie was based off of. So, I mean, obviously that already sets the tone for it being a pretty violent work, and I mean, everyone who's seen the church scene or the chapel scene, the one that people rave about, I mean, it is an awesome scene, and the movie overall is just great. But, you know, I have to admit, I thought it was overhyped for a bit, so I held off on seeing it. Then I watched it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I actually still need to see the second one, embarrassingly enough, but I'm hopefully excited for a third. We'll see. All right. Now we have The Lord of the Rings, which I only have 2 of because I keep forgetting to buy the third. I think I was in a Best Buy or something, and like I found the second one on sale. Yeah, I found the second one, and I just like didn't capitalize. I don't know. Maybe I was actually thinking about my budget at the moment, or something weird. And yeah, I've got the Fellowship of the Ring, and I've got the Return of the King. So I need the 2 towers or whatnot. And it's funny because I didn't actually see these movies until I think 2 years ago, which a lot of people assume that I'm just like keeping up to date on all these Lord of the Rings movies and like a lot of fantasy, sci-fi, well, you know, geek or nerd stuff, which is fair. That's very fair. But I mean, it's like 3 hours, and like there's 3 of them, so that's like 9 to 10 to 12 hours worth of movie. That like, I just ended up like plotting out a whole day with my friend and roommate at the time, so we just like cranked through all of them. I mean, we would just like grab dinner. I had like grab dinner or a meal, bring it back, have it delivered. I think I like ran through 2 or 3 monsters just trying to stay up because I'd always fallen asleep just trying to make it through the first one. I've got a low attention span. So yeah, both great. I mean, all 3 of them are great. I just need to go ahead and grab the second one so I can complete the trilogy. I'm not gonna get The Hobbit. I'm not gonna get The Hobbit on Steelbook. Mad Max Fury Road. Another pretty straightforward like action film. I mean, yeah, you know, it's Mad Max, but just going off of like what the Mad Max world had already established in the original ones, I thought it was incredibly well done. It was just fun to watch. It was visually beautiful, and that freaking dude with the flaming guitar was awesome. So that all led to it. Also, like looking into it and seeing the practical effects used in everything was awesome. I thought Tom Hardy did a great job as Max, and it was just a fun movie to watch and rewatch. All right, we've got a Ninja Scroll. This is, I mean, several of the movies I've already listed are not appropriate for children, and I bring that up because Ninja Scroll is one of these like anime classics that people are aware of. The animation in it is gorgeous and beautiful, and but it's also very gruesome. So to that extent, I mean, it's gory and there is some like mature content, which I mean goes hand in hand with it being gory. But still, there is some mature content, and while it is a great film, I recommend anyone who's older and likes to explore or watch animation who hasn't seen this, definitely watch it because it's just beautiful to watch and amazing to see like how anime has evolved, but also how like adult animation has evolved and been influenced from stories like this. All right, The Revenant. This one was kind of a I gotta admit, one was kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? I know, I just bought it on a whim. Yeah, I just bought it on a whim, and I'd heard it was a good movie, and kind of uses a lot of single shot cinematography, so I definitely wanted to check it out, and yeah, I enjoyed it. Once again, I'm not a big fan of historical works, or like, you know, war movies, etc., and this is based off a book, but at the same time, I think a biography, or autobiography, something. But I still really enjoyed it, as well as, oddly enough, I enjoyed seeing Leonardo DiCaprio get, like, mauled by a bear. Okay, like, I enjoyed the idea of it, I'll say that. But yeah, it was just a really fun, not fun, but it was I almost want to say enjoyable movie, but not necessarily in, like, just a fun way, but it was just a beautiful story, and, like, all the scenery, actors, everything was beautiful. And Leo finally got a, Oscar for it. Oh, yes. So this is probably, if not my favorite action movie, like one of my favorite action movies is The Raid. Well, The Raid 1 and 2. They're both these awesome series about these this Indonesian cop, like SWAT team member who has to go through this just apartment complex, fighting his way to the top to get this drug lord and bring him out of there. It's honestly, the plot is really similar to Dread, just a lot more fist fighting and less guns. But there's 2 of them in the series, and I've got The Raid 1, and then I've got a double steelbook with The Raid 1 and The Raid 2. I'm 90% sure one of these is like a UK only disc, like, you know, you can only play it, it's the British media type only or whatnot, European. But the art on this one is by this artist, Jock, that I really like, who does storyboarding as well as a lot of comic book art. I'm trying to remember. He's done some storyboards, I think, for Ex Machina, the movie, and then he's also done, like, off the top of my head, one of the comics he's done is Witches, which he wrote with Scott Snyder, who wrote one of the most famous, or the New 52 Batman run, which is where storyline 0 Year came out of. So, yeah, this guy drew art for Scott Snyder's book Witches, or his and Scott Snyder's books. Actually, now we have two. Now we have two movies I haven't seen that I bought because I hadn't seen them, which is Scarface and Schindler's List. I've already mentioned not a huge fan of war or historical dramas, and that also feeds into, I mean, okay, that's not necessarily why I haven't watched Scarface, but Schindler's List, I just don't want to be sad, so I haven't watched it yet, and yeah, I mean, obviously it's one of those legendary movies, and I impulse bought it because it was on sale during Black Friday. Yep, I'm gonna watch the movie. That might have been a mistake, we'll see, but Scarface is another classic and another impulse buy. Found it on sale, so I went ahead and went for it. It's kind of dangerous when there were just massive sales, or you find stuff at half-price books for like $4. But hey, adding it to the collection. Oh yes, okay. I keep saying this just because, I mean, obviously, hopefully that's the case because I keep buying. I should be buying movies that I like, but Scott Pilgrim is definitely one of the best comic book adaptation movies that I've seen. Actually, this movie is what helped get me into comics, or like make me as much of a comic fan as I am today. Is my little brother showed me this, and he showed me the trailer for this movie when I was still in high school. We were just like chilling, and he's like, "Dude, you got to see this. You've got to see the trailer for this movie." So he shows me the trailer for Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and I'm like, "Dude, what is this?" So, I mean, I'm excited to see it, and I guess I Google it, or I'm like checking who directed it, all these things, and I find out that it's based on a comic book by this Canadian author and artist. He drew and wrote it, Brian Lee O'Malley. So, I mean, that was probably one of the first comic books I actually bought, was the Scott Pilgrim series. And I've got all 6 volumes of it. Actually, the 6th volume was still being written while the movie was being made, and like while the movie was being, edited. So that's why the endings will differ a little bit more. The endings will differ a little bit more between the film and the comic book. But overall, I thought it was an awesome film adaptation of a comic. I thought the comic is, of course, awesome. It's got this kind of like manga-esque vibe to it. So, I mean, I can't recommend it enough. The movie and the comic. Alright, getting down to the wire. Serenity. If you haven't seen Firefly, I seriously recommend checking it out. This is kind of like the movie sequel to Firefly, and I mean the series is just incredible. It only got 1 season. It's one of those sci-fi series that's definitely a little overhyped, I'll say, just because it's got a very strong fan base. But I mean, it's a great series, especially if you like space westerns or space operas, this kind of thing. I mean, I'd recommend, if you've seen Cowboy Bebop, then you want to see Firefly, and if you've seen Firefly, you'll want to watch Cowboy Bebop, which Cowboy Bebop is this western-style anime with it's about space bounty hunters, so similar already, with an awesome jazz soundtrack. But yeah, Firefly is just an awesome space western with Nathan Fillion in it. It's a really, really enjoyable TV series. And then I've got Spider-Man Homecoming, as well as Spider-Man Homecoming. I got 2 different editions of the Steelbook on accident. I'm not even sure how that happened. Oh, that's what happened. One of these is the UK, like the English, the European edition of it, so I got it and I couldn't play the DVD. I thought, okay, that's fine. Then I got the digital code, and it turns out you can only redeem the digital code, I guess, in Europe as well. So I just ended up buying the American version of it so I could watch the DVD as well. And then I think it got released on Netflix, which ended up just... Either way, I have the Steelbook now, and I have 2. I mean, I enjoyed this movie. I still think Spider-Man 2 ranks above it, and Into the Spider-Verse ranks above it in terms of my, if I had to rank the Spider-Man movies. But yeah, I definitely enjoyed it, and the fact that it got to introduce Peter Parker into the MCU. Well, formally, because he was introduced in Civil War. All right, now for the best Transformers movie and one of the best animated movies of all time is the original, I think 90s, like 80s or 90s Transformers the movie. This is Generation 1 original Transformers, based right off of the original. I mean, it's a continuation of the original animated series story. It's where we get to see Hot Rod become Rodimus Prime. It's where we get to see Galvatron introduced. That's like Starscream kills Megatron, and then Megatron comes back as Galvatron, and we get to see Unicron, the freaking planet-eating transformer. I actually had a Unicron transformer for a while. It's like the size of a basketball, and then I gave it away. That was a mistake. It sounded good. It sounded good at the time, but I wish I had that thing still. But yeah, this was, I mean, I think this movie lost money at the time that it came out just because it was so expensive to animate. But hey, Weird Al has a song on the soundtrack, so that's pretty cool. And then Westworld, Season 1 on a Blu-ray. Actually, I just realized I haven't gotten around to watching Westworld either. I'm pretty bad about like keeping up with movies and television shows just because I know it can be hard like for me to sit down, but also sometimes I'm like so used to like looking for Easter eggs that comics are easier for me to like track with because I can like pause on like a page or something for a while, but with a movie it just keeps going. And especially with a series like Westworld, because it was written by the Nolan brothers or written by a Nolan brother, there's just a lot going on. I've heard fantastic things. I haven't even seen the original Westworld movie. I mean, that's like back in the 80s, so it's campy as heck. I haven't even seen that, and I kind of want to at some point just so I can compare it with the series, but yeah, it's another TV show I need to check out, but I got the Blu-ray case from a friend who just wanted the digital code, so that worked out. Whiplash. Incredibly stressful movie. I think Whiplash and Birdman are two of the most stressful movies I can like think like just to watch off the top of my head, just to watch. Yeah, because they're just, Birdman puts you a little bit on edge the entire time, and then Whiplash, I mean, you actually get to see just these outbursts by J.K. Simmons and like this tension between Miles Teller's character and J.K. Simmons' character. I mean, it's a stressful movie, great movie. It's by Damien Chazelle, who I think also did La La Land and First Man. But yeah, incredible, stressful movie. Probably not going to watch it again. One of the best movies I'll never watch again. And for the last of my movie Blu-rays, I've got X-Men Days of Future Past. This is probably my favorite, aside from the Deadpool movies, this is one of the best, I would say this is one of the best X-Men movies to have come out. Actually, no, I just remembered Logan, right, the Wolverine movies. But yeah, this is probably the best out of the kind of new series of films that came out with, starting with X-Men First Class. But it's another one that I managed to find on sale and realized, oh, that'd be nice for a rewatch, or that'd be nice just to have. So I went ahead and picked it up just because, it's on sale and it's one of the best X-Men movies to have come out. So nice little add to the collection. All right, and now that's all of my Blu-rays on movie, my movie Blu-ray Steelbooks. I've got a couple more, and these are now my PlayStation, my video game Steelbooks. My first two are going to be the Destiny games. I've got Destiny 1 and 2 on Blu-ray Steelbook. And I mean, it's funny because I bought them digital, at least at one point in time, because I have a PlayStation and an Xbox. So it's like, I think for my PlayStation, I bought it at disc. I bought the first one on disc, and then I bought it digital on Xbox. And then for the second one, I bought it digital on Xbox, and then I bought it on disc for my PlayStation. I know, it was weird. I just remember sinking countless hours into Destiny, the first one, when I was in college, to the point of, almost failing some classes. That's all right. But then I played the second one, and it just hasn't had that same impact on me, which is unfortunate because I was really expecting it. Then me and my friends, we all got it. We were, doing strikes and like just raids together. And then maybe after like a week or two, or maybe a couple months actually, we just kind of got tired of it because the plot was very thin. The weapons weren't just like as fascinating, nor was the world and the story, and just like the leveling system didn't feel the same as the first one. It's gotten better since then. I've played it a little bit, but I've already kind of like tapped out, and now I'm just playing stuff like Slay the Spire and the Forest, and all those things. Huh. Another game that kind of let me down, I have to admit, is Fallout 4. I bought this one for PlayStation, kind of right in line with that nostalgia wave, I guess, or just heavily, not nostalgia, but heavily anticipating a sequel. Is Fallout 3 was one of the first games I got, or like just played, sunk countless hours into on Xbox 360, and I loved it. Fallout 3, you know, it was just incredibly immersive. I would be on there for hours just picking up tin cans and chairs and stuff that I didn't need because I was still figuring out the game. And I mean, yeah, I played that game for years. And then Fallout 4 came out, and it seemed like it took away a lot of what I loved about Fallout 3. It just became less RPG-like. And don't get me wrong, the original Fallouts, Fallout 1 and 2, were completely different games almost. They looked more like Diablo 2. They were kind of isometric, a little bit more strategic. So Fallout 3 was a departure because it became first person. But Fallout 4 was a little bit more of a departure, I would say, from that. I mean, because you had Fallout New Vegas, then Fallout 4, and then you have like Fallout 76 now. So it seems like they've gotten a little bit further and further away from what I missed or what I enjoyed about Fallout 3. And, okay, this is like a series of like, I guess, disappointing games that I've got on Blu-ray for some, on SteelBook, which might explain why I was able to find them for like good prices. But I've got the limited edition No Man's Sky SteelBook. I pre-ordered. I bought into the hype. I fell for the hype when the game first came out. I got the SteelBook limited edition. I mean, I was also playing that one for hours on end, but then over time I just realized this is kind of repetitive. You know, this is kind of just resource management over and over. It's not as like grand as they built it up to be. Hello Games or whatnot had built it up to be, whoever was the developer. But I mean, I just fell out of love with it over time. But I picked it up actually a couple months back, and because they've done just so many updates to it, I mean, free updates, really impressive. I think they even added giant robots recently. I just remember they added giant robots. I'm probably gonna have to hit that up. But yeah, it's still, I have to say, even like with all the improvements they did, it was fun for a bit, but it still fell a little flat in terms of it still being a little bit too much about resource management. Although the ships are dope, the world building is dope, there is some interesting story there, I will say, but it's kind of immersive and atmospheric where you're not just going to get a straight campaign, which I don't mind, but I guess I just kind of fell out of love with it and haven't really like been able to invest myself as much as I did when I initially bought the game. Alright, here we go. Finally found some games that lived up to the hype. Shadow of the Colossus. This is by Team Ico, who also made the game Ico, and The Last Guardian. This one, I mean, if you like kind of Legend of Zelda style adventure games, then I'd recommend this one. It's on PlayStation 4. This is a re-release actually of the original game. I think that one was on PlayStation 2, but yeah, this game's awesome. You just go around as this boy, you're trying to revive this princess, but in order to do it, you have to slay these colossi, these massive beings who pretty much, like, some of them are so big, they're like the level in essence. Like, you have to climb up them and you have to strike their magicka. They've got like a, you know, glowing weak point, but at the same time, it's incredibly hard to, it's like a puzzle just trying to figure out how you have to beat certain colossi or what trick you have to do. It's a really amazing game. It's just a beautiful world. It's breathtaking. You have a horse you get to ride on, which is always dope. And it's an interesting reminder, I guess, of how much story you can tell without just dumping a plot on someone. Alright, and last but certainly not least, Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. This one, once again, another one that lived up to the hype. I think this is after Fallout 3, I think this is kind of what I was expecting Fallout 4 to be like for me. Not all the fantasy elements, because it's Fallout, but I was expecting Fallout 4 to be similar to how much time I sank into this just over the years when I was in college, and that was back when I had it on Xbox 360. You know, this is me upgrading to a PlayStation 4 and still clocking some hours on it. but I mean, I just remember this game coming out and all the memes that came out with it about Dovahkiin and Fusroda. It's got a little bit of that like that place in my heart. Even me and my friend Joel will like talk about it from time to time. I mean, that man's committed. He's still got it on Xbox 360 and refuses to upgrade because he's just invested so much time. I think like hundreds of hours into it that he'd lose all that progress if he switched consoles. So hats off to him, kudos. But yeah, this is one I needed to own on Steelbook. I'm still trying to find like a Spider-Man PlayStation 4 and a God of War PlayStation 4 Steelbook for each of those games, but I own them both digitally, so I just get them as collector's items if I did find them. That being said, wow, thanks for hanging in there, guys. Those were all of my Blu-ray Steelbooks and technically one mini digital Steelbook. So thanks for tuning in. This has been another episode of King's Comics. If you like today's video, or you want to see any more of my collection or haul videos, please hit the subscribe button or check out the playlist I have listed down below. And if you like today's video, of course, then please hit the like button, or like I said, the subscribe button if you really, really like today's video. And of course, I mean, let me know any like dope Steelbooks y'all have, or if you've got any suggestions, or anything y'all want to say, please drop a line down below in the comments. I'd love to hear it. And thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I'll be talking to you again real soon.